the topic.
Yeah.
It's fine. So yeah, welcome back everyone. This is the first talk after first talk of 2025. And no, actually to count the one that happened in 1 second. But we have Rishabh Ranjan, who's a PhD student at UCSD, and he works on like different areas of security. And today he's going to talk about something very interesting, which is concrete security of two-party computation. And we'll get into, I guess, definitions, which is called PSI. So over to you, Rishabh. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. The work I'll tell you today is brings new directions to the two-party computation space, namely concrete security and the simple new definitions that enable it. This is a joint work with Mihir Pilare, Dorian People, and Ali Al-Dakil. I am Rishabh Ranjan. Let's get into it. So you all probably already know about two-party computation, but to ground our discussion, I'll identify some of its key elements. In two-party computation, we have two parties, party 1 and party 2, with their private inputs x1 and x2. They engage in some kind of interaction to get the desired result. This desired result is maintained by or output by a functionality which is f here. This is a two-party computation functionality, takes in two inputs, gives two outputs. fx1, x21 would be the output for party 1. fx1, x22 would be the output for party 2. As an example, here we have the private set intersection functionality. The inputs here are sets x1 and x2. Party 1 gets the intersection of those sets and party 2 gets nothing, but formally we'll also include the sizes of the sets output for the parties. A protocol pi to realize a functionality f tells what are the messages that the two parties need to compute in order to be able, in order to get the desired output for the functionality. And security for protocol, the security goal for a protocol is either party should not be able to learn anything about the input of other party except what it can compute from the output that it gets. So the first wave of two-party computation research started with Andrew Yao, and it was theoretical. The main focus was feasibility, asking whether this magical sounding goal could even be achieved and under what assumptions. The significant contribution of that work was to show secure protocols exist and under general assumptions like oblivious transfer and worker functions, and for arbitrary functionalities. The focus was not efficiency, and security proofs were given in the asymptotic security setting, and it was enough that protocols were built. Right? We are now in the second phase, where the interest is more in the practical side of two-party computation functionalities, and the focus is efficiency. And for that, it's people do not really consider arbitrary functionalities. They look into particular functionalities of importance like private set intersection, oblivious to random functions. And as is evident in other areas of cryptography, a lot of security proofs are in this random oracle model, and the assumptions used are computational, example, discrete log. One thing that is still missing from this space is concrete security analysis, which is an important aspect because without it, an implementer does not have a proof justified way of picking parameters or to, for example, what elliptic group to work in to get the desired level of security. With asymptotic security, you can have two protocols, and one protocol would provide you 128 bits of security, while the other would provide you 64 bits of security while still having the same security. And these kinds, without concrete security, these kinds of results are invisible. So this is the gap that we filled in this course, and so we provide a new definition that allows one to pick parameters such that they can get the desired, or an implementer can get the desired level of proven security. So to summarize our contributions, we initiate the study of concrete security for two-party computation by giving a new definition, which is indistinguishability-based, called input indistinguishability, or INI. This definition is very concrete security friendly, encrypt analysis friendly, and still is equivalent to the simulation-based definitions, which traditionally are used in this space for a class of functionalities that we will look into later. These definitions also incorporate random oracle model explicitly. So as I've mentioned before, a lot of security proofs are in the random oracle model when we are working with protocols which are supposed to be ported to practical on the practical side. And and those security proofs or definitions sometimes do not explicitly incorporate the random oracle in their definitions. And while doing so in our definitions, we were able to identify some subtleties and some mistakes that can be made in security. We then use this definition to give security results for, or concrete security results for canonical DH PSI protocol. We do it in two steps. First, reducing the security of DH PSI to the OPRF security of 2H. DH OPRF, which is the underlying oblivious pseudo random function used in this protocol. And then we reduce the OPRF security of 2H DH to a bunch of different assumptions, which also shows how the tightness of security varies with different assumptions on the underlying. We then give a new PSI protocol called salted DH PSI, which is a slight modification on the DH PSI protocol, but achieves and is as efficient as the DH PSI protocol, but achieves tighter security. And one thing I would like to point out is that all our definitions and results are in the semi-honest setting. Yeah. So some remarks to put our work in context and see the implications. Concrete security started with the works of Pellare and Rockaway in the 1990s. It has since become the norm in a lot of areas of cryptography, like symmetric cryptography, applied public key cryptography, authenticated key exchange. There has been a lot of follow-up work, and a lot of work has been done to get tighter proofs of security. But this has not been the case in two-party computation, and except for some concrete security results for gargling schemes, which already saw a bunch of follow-up work in the past decade. So this is what we bring in this work. We get concrete security, or we give a definition which allows concrete security analysis for two-party computation, and in particular priorities at intersection. And this opens up new research directions, allows an implementer to get tighter security for proofs, build schemes which which have even tighter security. So yeah, and allow the implementers to have a proof justified way of picking parameters to get a desired level of security. So in the rest of this talk, I would go over background for asymptotic and concrete security, give our definition and the relation and its relations with the already used definitions in this space, and then discuss results for DH PSI and the solve of DH PSI. So in provable security, the setting is whether it's asymptotic or concrete is given a protocol phi that targets achieving a security notion P based on some underlying problem P is hard, or assuming that the underlying problem P is hard. One gives a reduction such that given an adversary A, which is attacking the P security of phi, we construct an adversary A prime, which attacks the underlying problem P. In the asymptotic setting, this reduction will tell us that if A runs in polynomial time and has a non-negligible advantage, then A prime also runs in polynomial time and has a non-negligible advantage. Here, the advantages and running times are functions of the security parameter, and negligible just means that the function vanishes faster than the reciprocal of any polynomial as the security parameter goes to infinity. In the concrete security setting, we have adversary A, which has a running time t, which is a parameter and not a function here, and it has some advantage epsilon. And we construct A prime with which runs in again similar time t and has some advantage epsilon prime. And we use this epsilon prime, or we bound the advantage of adversary A as a function of function b of the advantage of adversary A prime. And this bound would be something explicit like 2 times epsilon prime. Now, if someone asks how many bits S of security does this protocol pi have if we are working on a 256-bit curve and the underlying problem is discrete log? In the asymptotic security scenario or case, we don't just using this result. We are not really sure how to identify how many bits or what would the value of S be, and it could even be 0. But in the concrete security case, because we know that the bound is 2 times epsilon prime, and for a 256-bit curve, if the underlying problem is discrete log, we get 128 bits of security. So S would be 127 bits. Now, before going into the input indistinguishability definition, I would like to point out that it is our thesis that some definitions are more easier to work with or to analyze security concretely. We call them the concrete security friendly definitions. And the taxonomy that we give here is single quantified definitions and double quantified definitions. In single quantified definition, we get a result, or the security tells us for all adversary A, the advantage in breaking of the adversary A in breaking T for some protocol pi is low. And these are the definitions that we are more used to, and all indistinguishability-based definitions are in this category. While in the double quantifier definitions, we also have a simulator as a parameter, and the security result would say something like there exists a simulator such that for all adversaries the advantage is so. And all simulation-based definitions are like this, and the existence of a simulator makes it harder to get concrete security results. And although I would like to point out it's not impossible to get concrete security results. It's just that anytime people try to get it, you have to actually look into the protocol, try to see specifically what kind of analysis you can do. However, there are advantages of these definitions as well, specifically that they have been traditionally used in this space, and they provide an intuitively strong security. There are also general composition theorems that we use when using these definitions. So a natural question that arises is whether we can get the best of both worlds. Can we have a definition which is concrete security friendly while providing the same level of security that we get from a simulation-based definition? And in other areas of cryptography, historically, it has been seen that it is the case. Specifically in encryption, we know that indistinguishability for public key and symmetric key encryption is equivalent to the semantic security definition. And can we get something like this for two-party computation? With this work, we say yes. We give a definition INI, which we show for a class of functionalities is equivalent to the simulation-based definition that we also give. So to warm up for our definition, I would like to use the encryption indistinguishability-based game for encryption. So for our symmetric encryption scheme E, the game first picks a challenge bit B and initializes the key. Any adversary playing the game has access to an oracle or to an encryption oracle and sends two messages to the encryption oracle. The oracle picks one message and encrypts it based on the challenge bit B and sends the ciphertext back to the adversary. After making any number of queries as it wants, it finally returns a guess for the challenge bit and wins if it correctly guesses the challenge bit. The advantage is given by that equation, which just means how much better it can do than simply guessing the bit B. And formally, the game would look something like that on the right. So to go from that definition to a definition for two-party computation, we can see the analogy here. So in encryption, the adversary has access to an encryption oracle, provides two different messages, and one of which is chosen by or used by the encryption oracle to return the ciphertext. In two-party computation, since we have two parties, one of which will act as an adversary, uh, the adversary provides two inputs to the oracle that it has. Here we will use the run oracle and gets back and just provides a single input for the adversary party. From the oracle in encryption, adversary receives a ciphertext. Here, in two-party computation, it would receive a conversation transcript of the protocol and the output endpoints for the dishonest party. So, and one thing that I did not mention in the last slide is there is an inherent assumption in the game saying the length of the messages should be same, otherwise we have a trivial win for the adversary. A similar, or there is a need for a test in the two-party computation game as well. Since the adversary receives the output for the dishonest party, if for the pairs of inputs that it's providing to the oracle, it gets different outputs, it would be easy for the adversary to get. So we have a requirement saying we need to have same outputs for both the pairs from the functionality. For going forward, quickly, I'll just motivate why we are using the semi-honest setting. So first, semi-honest setting just is where adversaries are assumed to follow the protocol as is, and in the malicious setting, adversaries can arbitrarily deviate from the protocol. Our work is in the semi-honest setting. We decided to do this because, first of all, just pedantically, if we start going towards a malicious setting without having a solid foundation into a semi-honest setting, we saw that there is a lot of complications that were happening, and even the semi-honest setting itself is not trivial. Then there are a lot of protocols and work that is happening in the semi-honest setting. A lot of practical protocols are made in the semi-honest setting because of efficiency. So, yeah, those are some of the reasons why we decided we should do we should first start with the semi-honest setting. Another thing that we would need for the definition is an algorithm which gives us the output or the conversation transcript of the protocol. Because we are in the semi-honest setting, we are able to do it easily using the XT algorithm. Takes in the inputs of the parties and the points of the parties, returns the output of the parties and the conversation transcript. So this is a pictorial representation of our input indistinguishability definition, which again the game first selects a challenge bit B. Adversary A has access to a run oracle. It sends a 3-tuple to the run oracle with. In this example, I would be using party 2 as the honest party and party 1 as the adversary party. So here we have one input for party 1 and 2 inputs for party 2, which is the honest party. Adversary A uses this to query the run oracle. Run oracle picks the points for the parties, runs the XT algorithm, generates the conversation transcript, and sends that back to the adversary along with the output that it should give and get and the coins for party. And after making any number of queries again, adversary A has to makes a guess for the challenge bit and wins if it guesses correctly. Again, the advantage for the adversary is given similarly. If we leave this definition as is, as I mentioned before, there is a problem, there is a trivial win for the adversary because the Y1, which is the output for the dishonest party, can be different for the two pairs of inputs that XT or that the run oracle can use. So the two pairs of inputs being the X1, X20 and X1, X21. And so we have a requirement that ensures that the Y1 would be same for both these inputs and pairs of inputs, and we get our finite definition. Formally, it looks something like this. I wouldn't go into the details of this specifically, but something that I would like to point out is that we explicitly have the random oracle present in our definition, and the random function that it uses is initialized by the game, which is picked from a random oracle space, which is defined by the functionality. We also give simulation-based definitions, which are game-based, that are that capture the definition that are traditionally used in this space. And these games are parameterized by a simulator S. And again, the game picks a challenge bit B. Oracle. Here, the run oracle takes inputs with inputs for both the parties, X1 and X2, just this. And based on the value of the challenge bit, either the protocol is used to generate the conversation transcript or the simulator is used to generate the conversation transcript. One thing to note is the simulator takes as input the input of the adversary and the output of the adversary. And so the functionality needs to be computed in the definition itself. So yeah, we have two definitions. One of them is non-programmable, one of them is programmable. And so yeah, that's the definition between sim and sim-np. Sim is where the simulator programs the random oracle, and sim-np is where simulator does not program the random oracle, and there is an honest random function that is used to return the queries of the adversary. Advantages similarly given, and so there is a subtlety that arises in when we have the programmable random oracle. So in the simulator or in these definitions, it is assumed that the simulator and the protocol and the adversary will query the random oracle, but we also have functionalities which query the random oracle. Due to that, if we have functionality use the programmed random oracle queries from the simulator, we can show that there are some obviously insecure protocols that can be shown to be secure. And so we handle this in a different way, where we say that the functionality always needs to use the honest random function. To elaborate, I would use this example here. Say we have a protocol which is which is computing a functionality which takes as input for party one X, which is from this from a string space, and K, which is from this integer space, and the output for party one has to be this output from a random function, and output for party two is just nothing. And this and in this protocol, party one just sends its input in the clear to party two. This is obviously insecure, as anybody looking at the conversation transcript can get the private input for party one. But if we have the simulator definition in which the functionality is using the random oracle to compute its output. What would happen is, in the case where the simulator is programming those queries, it would know the output, it would know the input that is used in this protocol, and as a result, we can create a simulator which can create the exact same conversation transcript. Due to this, we can show that there is no adversary which would be able to distinguish whether the simulator was used to generate the conversation transcript or the protocol was used. So what we do instead is have the functionality use an honest random function instead. The simulator still has access, it still can program the random oracle, but it also has access to that honest random function. So some remarks about our definitions. So there is no restriction on the number of queries that the adversary can make for the run oracle, and so with that we are able to see how the advantage of the adversary creates as a function of the number of run oracle queries that it makes. The random oracle model is explicitly incorporated in our game, and in the same NP definition, it is not programmed by the simulator, but in the same definition by the simulator. So here we have a picture of the relationship between these definitions. An arrow is an implication. So sim implies INI, which means that any protocol which is sim secure is also INI secure. And staggered arrow means separation. So which means that we can, in general, we can show that there are protocols which are INI secure but not sim secure. But but our main result is the one on the side, which says that for functionalities which are invertible, I'll give the definition of invertible soon. We can show that INI implies sim NP, and which means that INI implies sim, and in turn INI is equivalent to sim for functionality which are invertible. So with this, we get the best of both worlds. We have a definition which is concrete security friendly and providing the same level of security as the simulation-based definitions. So what is invertibility? First of all, it is a condition on the functionality and not the protocol itself. It says that, and it is with respect to a party. Here I'll be using party 2 as the honest party. And so a functionality F is invertible with respect to party 2 if there exists an efficient inverting algorithm called inverter IA, which takes in the input of the adversary, here party 1, X1, and or dishonest party X1, and the output of the dishonest party Y1, sends it to and generates an input for the honest party X, such that when the original input X1 of the dishonest party and X for the honest party is used to generate the output for party 1, we get the same output that was used before. So this is similar to what we would see in a pre-image or in a pre-image game, and here just that we have a functionality with 2 inputs and 2 outputs. So we have pre-image testing with respect to one party. And while it seems that this is a very strict condition on any functionality, we have seen that for functionalities that are used in practice, they are invertible. Specifically, we create inverters for PSI and some of its friends. We can so with respect to party 2, it's we can see an inverter here which says again X1 is a set. The output for party 1 is the intersection of the set and also the size of X2. The inverter would just try to create another set which has the same intersection x1 intersection x2 and is able to and has the same size as x2, and thus we can create an efficient inverter in this way. We also show invertibility for some related functionalities like the threshold private set intersection functionality and the cardinality private set intersection functionality. In TPSI, the output for party one is the intersection if the size of the intersection of the sets is greater than the threshold. In cardinality PSI, it is the output for party one is just the size of it. So to conclude this part of the talk, we see that for functionalities which are invertible, specifically PSI and similar functionalities, we have this concrete security friendly definition INI, which is equivalent to the strong SIM definition. And as a result, we can very easily target INI security for such functionalities and still enjoy the strong security. And in particular, beyond just the security that INI provides, so it because SIM-NP implies SIM, so since INI implies SIM-NP, so transitively it also implies. And INI is also concrete security or cryptanalysis friendly. Specifically, what I mean by that is if we want to show an attack for a protocol which is with respect to a simulation-based definition, we have to give an adversary which works for all the simulators. So there is because we have that for all quantification from the simulation side when we are trying to show that a protocol is insecure, there is an extra effort we need to show attacks. And for the INI security part, or for the INI definition, there is a simulator. So we just need to give an adversary. So before going over the results of DH PSI, I would like to further motivate why private set intersection is important, and we'll see how the DH PSI protocol was developed. So as mentioned before, private set intersection is this functionality. Inputs are sets. Party one gets the intersection as output. The security goal is party one doesn't learn the elements of x2 other than what it knows from the intersection, and party two doesn't learn the elements of x1. PSI has seen a lot of applications. Have I been found is a service where users can check whether their email IDs were leaked in a previous security breach. So here, the user who will act as the first as party one will have a set of email IDs, and X2 would be the set of email IDs present with the have I been found service. Signal is a popular text messaging app, and it uses PSI for its private contact discovery to find out who among the contacts of a user are also already on Signal. Apple uses private set intersection for its child sexual abuse material detection service to restrict uh, to restrict having users having CSAM material on iCloud. Google Research uses it for identifying which users clicked on an advertisement and then went on to buy the actual product. And OpenMind used PSI for its COVID contact tracing. So clearly, private set intersection is an important functionality that needs to have its protocols analyzed, and there are a lot of people using it in practice already. So private set membership is a easier or a smaller version of private set intersection where the first party just has a single point and second party has similarly as before has a set as input, and the output for party one is just whether its input is present in x2 or not. So say if a natural protocol for PSM is a hashing-based protocol, which was used in the high-level pawn service. And the idea here is both parties have agreed on a hash function. Party 2 just hashes all of its elements, sends that creates the set Y, sends it to party 1. Party 1 hashes its own input, sees whether checks whether its hashed element is present in set Y and figures out whether the D was present in X2 or not. But this is clearly insecure because with the security goal, we know that party 1 should not be able to identify any other element of X2. But here it can, because it knows the set capital Y, it can check any other elements for membership in X2 and can have something like a dictionary attack. So with this, what I wanted to motivate was it's very easy to have bad protocols without clear security analysis. And Jose and Linda, who gave the PSM protocol, used OPRFs as a tool to create a secure protocol. Oblivious pseudo random functions is a two-party computation functionality again, with party 1 having input as an element, party 2 having a key, and they engaging in a protocol, party 1 getting the output of a PRF as its output, and party 2 doesn't get anything. And Q is the underlying pseudo-random function that the OPRF is based on. And 2-hash DH is a very widely popular OPRF that is used in practice, which was given by Jeremy and others. So Jose and Linda using an OPRF as a primitive gave this protocol for private set membership, which says in which it's very similar to the hashing-based protocol, but instead of a hash function, both parties have agreed on a PRF queue, and party 2 picks a random key K, evaluates the PRF on all of its elements, creates the set Y, sends it to party 1, and then party 1 engages in an OPRF protocol with party 2 and gets the evaluation of Q on K in its input. And with this, it's again similarly as before, it's able to identify whether the element D was present in X2 or not. This is by no means the most efficient PSM protocol out there. It's but a natural generalization of this gives us a protocol for PSI where party 1 does this for all the elements. So that is the protocol that we call DH PSI when the underlying OPRF protocol that is used is 2-hash DH. And we, in our paper, we concretely analyze this particular protocol and give some security results for it. We do this in a modular way. First, we reduce the INI security of DH PSI to the OPR security of 2-hash DH, and then reduce the OPR security of 2-hash DH to a bunch of different underlying group assumptions. The different underlying group assumptions that we use are given here. The CDH and DDH assumptions are the regular computational Diffie-Hellman and decisional Diffie-Hellman assumptions. CDH MUC, which means CDH in multi-user setting with corruptions, is an assumption where the adversary also has access to the CDH oracle so that it can actually get the results or get the answers for a bunch of different CDH queries. In BCDH, which is verifiable CDH, the adversary has access to a DDH oracle, and so it can verify some CDH queries and see whether it got the correct results using the DDH oracle. When the adversary has access to both the CDH and the oracle, we get the BCDH and BC assumption. And the setup for our results is similar as what we as is the same as what I said before. Adversary A is attacking the ionized security of DH PSI and using the resources to run the number of queries it makes to the run oracle, QRO, the number of queries it makes to the random oracle, and achieve some advantage epsilon. Using this is an adversary A prime, which is attacking the underlying problem P, which has and has about the same running time as A, and achieves some advantage epsilon prime, such that the advantage of adversary A is bounded by a function of advantage of adversary A prime and the resources that it used. And these are the results that we got. We see that for BCDH, MUC, and DDH assumptions, we get type reductions. And not so good security results for CDH and for the stronger assumptions like CDH and BCDH. So as we go towards weaker assumptions, we get tighter security. So I'm not going to specifically show the salted PSI protocol. It's a slight modification on the DH PSI protocol, which uses a similar idea as the one used in the PSS signature scheme. So PSS is a signature scheme which is RSA based and which is as efficient as the widely used FTH RSA signature scheme, but uses salting to get tighter security reductions. The idea is that random oracle has an additional solve as an input, and due to that, we get solve length as a parameter in the security results. And the results that we get are shown here in the third column. We can see clearly that the security that it achieves is tighter. In fact, we get tight reduction for BCDH as well now. One thing to note is the run oracle or the number of run oracle queries do not appear as a factor in the security reduction, which means that we have tight multi-executions. And yeah. So with that, I come to the end of this talk. And to summarize, in this work, we initiate the study of concrete security of two-party computation by giving indistinguishability-based definition, which we show is equivalent to the simulation-based definition for advanced functionalities. This definition is also concrete security friendly and truth analysis friendly. We then use this definition to give concrete security results for DH PSI, and we then give a new PSI protocol called salted DH PSI, which is as efficient as DH PSI but achieves better security. Thank you.
By solving the hash that's using the
So it's not like it's removing the dependence on the random
number.
Oh yeah. So it's just I would say it's just a security proof technique that it's not like it's just used here. It has been used in the past as well.
So simply doesn't class one or
Where?
so class one.
Yeah, it's used in the PSS.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea is that anywhere where there is a random oracle or a random oracle used to compute the functionality, you add a solve as an input to the random oracle as well. The intuition would be, if you look at the proof specifically, the intuition would be that with the solve length, you can because we would do something like identical until bad kind of security proof, and with adding the salt length, you would reduce the probability of having that bad happen by a lot, and that's why the salt length appears as a in the equation. But yeah, that's
Examples of non-invertible functionality.
yes, OPRF is not invertible. So OPRF from one side is not invertible because uh, if we look at OPRF here, right? So if we look at OPR invertibility with respect to party one, what the inverter would need to do is just seeing D and Y, it would need to calculate a key K, which is difficult. Um, that's why in the paper we actually give a separate dedicated definition or indistinguishability-based definition for OPRF as well.
Anything to cover it will not be.
But functionality, yeah, sure. Anything which is non-injunctive, like this, would be non-invertible. However, other than this particular scenario, I haven't found any other functionality which is completely non-invertible. Obligous transfer is invertible. There's a functionality called private join and compute used by Google, which is invertible. A lot of machine learning related functionalities are invertible.